Another Avenue presents. Here are the continuation top 20 definitions and examples chess tactics motifs you must know, part 2. I'll give you a few seconds to overview and what is motifs before we jump off to our tutorial. Motifs means types of tactics commonly encountered in chess. Understanding these motifs will help you recognize tactical patterns, both in trainer and in your actual games. Chess tactics are discussed often, but what is a chess tactic? There are many ways to describe chess tactics, but perhaps the simplest is to say that a chess tactic is a move, or series of moves that brings an advantage to a player. This advantage can be material, like winning a piece, or even an attack that results in checkmate. The most common question I hear from chess students and friends is some version of, "How can I improve?" Every strong player has heard this question countless times, and every aspiring player has asked it. The stock answer is logical, whether you like it or not. This is not the only way, but this is one way to enhance your thinking skills capability, is to solve tactical problems. Nothing else matters particularly much if you hang a piece in each game. Tactics are all about patterns. Strong players have an enormous mental library of chess patterns. They recognize the components of smothered mate and stalemate instantaneously. Tactical patterns are the most fundamental, but there are many kinds of patterns: patterns of pawn structure, patterns of endgames, patterns of attack and defense, etc. There are many ways to build tactical strength. There are websites offers for free or a free trial training such as Chess24, lichess.org, Chessable, comprise of grandmasters authors of such comprehensive chess books, online training lessons, and chess.com's Tactics Trainer is a great resource which doesn't provide hints in the chapter title. However, solving a good collection of problems organized by theme is a great way to master them. At the end of this video, as we usually do, I'll give you a puzzle trainer example, to test yourself what you've learned after this lesson. For those chesser friends and chess enthusiasts, this is the most frequent asked question. How can one most efficiently acquire patterns? Are you ready? Let's jump right to it. Number 1. Mating net, a position where the king is trapped and will soon be checkmated. The area of the board where the king is tied down is often like a net closing tighter and co-tighter. A player might create a mating net by cutting off all escapes for the enemy king, often by relatively quiet, non-checking moves. But once the net is created, a forcing sequence of moves will lead to checkmate inevitably. Bishop takes h2 check. The key idea of this tactical motif. This is a common mating net applied by the queen and bishop. Note that the moves leading up to this common mating net are not relevant. What is relevant is that black is checkmated by force, as the net only gets smaller. King h1, bishop g3 check, king g1, queen h2 check, king f1, queen takes f2 checkmate, another classic example of a mating net. Bishop takes h7 check, king takes h7, knight g5 check, king g8, queen h5. The key idea of this tactical motif is set in motion with this move. The queen and knight are a powerful mating net duo, and their follow-up to the classic bishop sacrifice on h7 is decisive. Black cannot escape mate in this net. Rook d8, queen takes f7 check, king h8, queen h5 check, king g8, queen h7 check, king f8, queen h8 check, king e7, queen takes g7 check, king e8, queen f7 checkmate. King g6, queen g4, is also winning for white. Number 2. Overloading. A piece that has too many things to do is overloaded. For example, a bishop that has to both stop a passed pawn from queening and guard against a checkmate is overloaded. By carrying out one threat, for example, queening the pawn, the opponent could force the overworked bishop to leave its post, allowing the checkmate threat to succeed. Rook takes d4, c takes d4, bishop b4. The key idea to this tactical motif. The queen is overworked or overloaded on d2, having to guard both the g2 pawn and the a5 rook against black's double attack. Black is winning. Rook a3, queen takes a3, b takes a3, bishop takes d2, and black wins. Number 3. Pawn promotion, tactic that involves promoting a pawn. Often this involves other tactics along the way, all of them being single parts of an overall goal to promote the pawn. That pawn would usually deliver decisive results, but with a difference of under promotion. How can use your pawn and take advantage of black's undefended pieces? Knight d7, bishop b2, queen takes a3. The key idea of this tactical motif. Rarely is the queen used for a decoy in such a way, but white's passed a pawn allows this move to be devastating. After the move, bishop takes a3, knight f6 check, king g7, knight takes e8 check, rook takes e8, rook b8, white queens the a pawn, winning easily. Queen takes d7, rook b8 wins. If queen takes d7, rook takes b2, rook c1 check, king g2, queen d5 check, queen f3, wins. So, if queen d5, rook b8, here's another, rook takes b2, the key idea of this tactical motif, white executes a forcing combination that climaxes in the promotion of the d-pawn, queen takes c2, queen takes c8 check, knight takes c8, d7, knight a7, d8 promote to a queen check, king g7, and white is ahead by a rook. Number 4. Perpetual check, a situation where one player can check the opponent's king forever, but cannot checkmate it. Perpetual check is a type of drawn position. When a perpetual check happens, the players usually either agree to a draw or the same position is repeated 3 times, resulting in a draw by the rule of threefold repetition. Rook takes h2 check. The key idea of this tactical motif. Black sacrifices a rook, being down a significant amount of material already, and ends the game by perpetual check. King takes h2, queen h4 check, king g1, queen g3 check, king h1, queen h3 check, king g1, queen, g3 check, is a draw. Number 5. Pin. A piece cannot move because it is blocking or guarding a more valuable piece behind it from being captured. That piece is pinned. A pinning piece is a long-range piece, a rook, queen, or bishop, that is aimed at one of the opponent's valuable pieces, with a less valuable opponent's piece in the way or blocking the rook, queen or bishop from attacking the more valuable piece. An absolute pin is when a piece is pinned to the king, thus, making it absolutely illegal to move the pinned piece. Rook takes d6, rook takes d6, e5. The key idea of this tactical motif. White's pin of the rook to the black king allows white to increase the number of attackers, often the key to winning a pinned piece, and eventually win material. King e6, e takes d6, bishop takes d6 a bad move, then, f6 drawing. King d7, king e3, king e6, king e4 is winning. Number 6. Queen sacrifice. A sacrifice of the queen with the distinct purpose of achieving something more valuable. Most often, a queen sacrifice is just one part, a single move among others, of an attempt to checkmate the enemy king or eventually win back material at the end of the combination. Queen takes d5. The key idea of this tactical motif. White sacrifices the queen in order to execute a combination that eventually earns white a material advantage after the move. Bishop takes d5. Knight takes e7 check, king h8, knight g6 check, h takes g6, bishop takes d8, rook takes d8, e takes d5, and white is ahead a piece. Number 7. Removal of the defender, tactic that involves eliminating the critical defensive piece that otherwise stands in the way of achieving a much greater goal, most often checkmate or the winning of large amounts of material. A player looks to remove the defender as a destructive means to achieve their goal. Rook takes e8 check. The key idea of this tactical motif. White looks to remove the knight on e8 from its protection of the g7 pawn and therefore the threat of checkmate. Rook takes e8, and queen takes g7 checkmate. Number 8. Sacrifice. The act of giving up material, either making a trade that loses points or simply losing a piece or pawn for nothing, with the goal of getting something else in return. For example, a player may sacrifice the queen in order to open up a square for a knight where it can then checkmate the opponent. A player may also make more strategic sacrifices, such as sacrificing a pawn to gain time to develop or sacrificing a piece to destroy the opponent's king's pawn cover. Rook e1 check, king h2, rook h1 check. The key idea of this tactical motif. Black sacrifices the rook to force white's king to the desired square. After the move, king takes h1, queen h3 check, king g1, queen takes g2 checkmate. If knight takes h1, queen takes g2 checkmate. Number 9. Simplification. A simplification tactic is a forcing sequence of moves that converts an advantage into a more easily winning position. A player tries to simplify a winning position as an act of good technique, which is the skill of converting an advantage into a victory. In such positions, it is obvious that white is having difficulties converting because black has so many pieces on the board. Despite white's material advantage, it is difficult to find a plan. And if given the opportunity, black will use his doubled rooks on the d-file and create counterplay on the queenside by bishop g7. And eventually rook b6, bishop e2. The key idea of this tactical motif. White is forcing a trade of material by threatening bishop f3. There is nothing black can do to stop this, and as the variations prove, white will soon have simplified the position into an endgame where the queen is the dominate piece, bishop a2 check, king takes a2, rook takes d1, bishop takes d1, rook takes d1, queen g4, and white is winning. So, if bishop g7, bishop f3, bishop a2 check, king takes a2, rook takes d1, bishop takes d1, rook takes d1, queen g4, and white will transfer the queen to the queenside and begin munching on the pawns. Here's another, queen d4 check, king g8. The key idea of this tactical motif. White simplifies into an ending, thus, taking away black's counterplay along the long diagonal and winning easily. Queen d5 check, queen takes d5, c takes d5, bishop takes d5, b4. Number 10. Skewer, a move that threatens a valuable piece, such as the king or queen, forcing that piece to move away and allowing the attacking piece to take a less valuable piece behind the valuable one. A skewer is the opposite of a pin in many ways, since in the skewer the more valuable piece is in front. Rook a8. The key idea of this tactical motif. The rook is untouchable due to a skewer of the king and queen after bishop to f3. This position provides multiple skewer examples, eventually climaxing in a white victory. After the move, queen a2, rook takes a4, queen g8, rook a8, queen h7, bishop g6, wins, queen takes g6, rook a6 check. Queen takes a8, bishop f3 check, king b6, bishop takes a8 wins. So, queen takes a4, bishop e8 check, is winning. Number 11. Smothered mate, a checkmate by a knight against an enemy king which has no way out because all of its escape squares are blocked by its own pieces. The king's own pieces keep it from moving, while the enemy knight puts it in check. A smothered mate can only occur when a king is immediately surrounded by its own pieces, with no enemy piece directly touching it by occupying a nearby square. This is why only the knight can give smothered mate. Knight f7 check, king g8, knight h6 check, king h8, queen g8 check, rook takes g8, knight f7 checkmate. If king f8, queen f7 checkmate. Number 12. Stalemate. When a player whose turn it is has no legal moves by any of her pieces but is not in check. A stalemate is a draw. A stalemate tactic would occur when the objective or goal of the puzzle was to force a stalemate from an otherwise lost or unfavorable position. Rook a7 check, king b3, rook c7, is a good move. The key idea of this tactical motif. White is sacrificing the rook to take advantage of the king's current stalemated status. The game will either end with a perpetual attack of the rooks or stalemate, rook takes c7, stalemate, so rook e8, rook e7, and white chases the rook for eternity. Number 13. Support mate. A support mate is a basic checkmate that occurs simply when a queen directly assaults a king to deliver checkmate and finds itself receiving support, protection, from one other piece. This supporting piece can be a pawn, knight, bishop, or king. Queen g7 checkmate. The key idea of this tactical motif, white delivers checkmate. The queen is supported by knight. The same would apply if the queen is defended by the bishop, king or pawn. Number 14. Trapped piece. A piece that finds itself with either no moves at all or at least no moves that avoid the loss of material. Often, a piece might be trapped at the end of a forced sequence of moves. Bishop takes b6, a takes b6, f4. The key idea of this tactical motif. White recognized with the first move, bishop takes b6, that the e5 knight was potentially trapped if the b6 knight could be eliminated from protecting the c4 square. This two-move combination traps the e5 knight in the center of the board. Number 15. Under promotion, promoting a pawn to a piece less than a queen. In other words, promoting a pawn to a knight, rook, or bishop, since the queen is the strongest piece, players almost always choose to promote their pawns to queens. An under-promotion tactic occurs when there are special reasons that a player needs a weaker piece rather than a queen, almost always a knight, since it is the only piece whose move is not already reflected by the queen's abilities, whether to stop an opponent's threat or achieve something even better than what a queen could offer. h1 Promote to a bishop. The key idea of this tactical motif: black under-promotes to a bishop for a specific purpose, which is to prevent white's trick of stalemate. Rook a8 check. Bishop takes a8, and black wins. If h1 promote to a queen, this is dubious. Rook a8 check. Queen takes a8, stalemate. Number 16. Vulnerable king, a position or puzzle where tactics arise from the exposed position of the enemy king. A vulnerable king's position may often lead to that king being put in a mating net of some kind. g4 check. The key idea of this tactical motif: tactics occur in abundance around the vulnerable black kinging, eventually ending with a forced checkmate after f takes g4, h takes g4 check, king h4, queen takes h6 check, queen takes h6, king h2, knight e3, bishop takes e3, queen f6, bishop f2 checkmate. So, if king g3, queen takes e6, winning. Number 17. Windmill, a rare tactic in which a repeated discovered check, just like discovered attack, check, in part 1, allows one piece to go on a rampage, capturing multiple enemy pieces. Bishop f6, queen takes h5, rook takes g7 check. The key idea of this tactical motif: white captures on g7, and begins a series of checks, all forced and inescapable by black, that inevitably lead to a huge loss in material. This game between Carlos Torre versus Emmanuel Lasker is perhaps the most famous windmill tactic in the history of chess. King h8, rook takes f7 check, king g8, rook g7 check, king h8, rook takes b7 check, king g8, rook g7 check, king h8, rook g5 check, king h7, rook takes h5, king g6, rook h3, king takes f6, rook takes h6 check, and white went on to win. So, if white rook takes a7 check, king g8, rook g7 check, king h8, rook g5 check, king h7, rook takes h5, king g6, black regains some of his material in the open. A file haunts white. Number 18. X-ray attack. An X-ray tactic in chess occurs when one of your long-range pieces, a rook, bishop, or queen, attacks through one of your opponent's pieces to indirectly attack, threaten or defend beyond it. An X-ray tactic often occurs along with the theme of back rank mate. Bishop a7 check. The key idea of this tactical motif: white is able to force the black king away from b8, or win material because of the white rook's takes ray protection of the a7 square. After the move, rook takes a7, rook takes a7, and white is winning. Number 19. Zugzwang is a German word that literally translates to move compulsion. This is a situation where every move a player could make causes him or her to lose the game, or at least significantly worsen the position. Rook d8. The key idea of this tactical motif: white makes a waiting move with the rook, placing black in zugzwang. Black's only move loses the game immediately. King h8, rook takes f8 check. Number 20. Zwischenzug is a German word meaning in between move. An often unexpected move inserted in between an otherwise forcing sequence of moves. The Zwischenzug generally changes the result of the sequence. A desperado, as we previously discussed in part 1, is a powerful example of a Zwischenzug tactic. I recommend that you watch the first part of this tutorial, the top 18 chess tactical motifs, so you would learn this lesson completely. So, let's continue.
e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, bishop e3, bishop g7, f3, castle, queen d2, knight c6, long castle, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop e6, King b1, Queen a5, the best is Queen c7, Knight d5, Queen takes d2, Knight takes e7 check. The key idea of this tactical motif: White captures on e7 with check before capturing back on d2. This check is an intermezzo or Zwischenzug, as it is played in between the obvious recapture, King h8, Rook takes d2, and White is winning. If Queen d8, Knight takes f6 check, Bishop takes f6, Bishop takes f6, E takes f6, Queen takes d6, also wins.
My dear friends, now it's your turn. Test yourselves what you have learned in our lessons. Here's the second puzzle trainer. White to play and find the advantage or best move using our tactical motif. Comment down in the link description below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends, so we can keep making them. For more videos like this, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit on the notification bell. Also, be sure to check out our other videos as well. See you next time. Thanks for watching.